Later, everyone gathers at Momo's house to eat. Ken, caught in a moment of indecision, keeps glancing between Momo and Era, trying to figure out which of them is more attractive and where he has the better chance. Suddenly, Momo asks Era if she still hates her for dropping a tub on her head. Era casually replies that it wasn't a big deal, but she's willing to apologize if Era apologizes to Ken for mocking him. Without missing a beat, Era slurps her noodles and boldly claims that Momo is a demon, which is why she considers her an enemy. Momo, growing irritated, slurps her noodles aggressively and calls Era dumb for misunderstanding everything. Era, not backing down, points at Ken and asks why he looked like a demon when fighting Silky. To make matters worse, Era refuses to believe that someone as young and beautiful as Seiko could be Momo's grandmother. Seiko, hearing this, sides with Era and says that Momo is indeed a demon. This only fuels Era's delusion that everyone at the table is a demon, with Momo as their leader, plotting to destroy Earth. Frustrated, Momo stuffs her mouth with noodles and starts mumbling incoherently, sounding like a mumble rapper, while Era follows suit, throwing insults back at her. The two circle the table, yelling in gibberish. After finishing her meal, Era leaves with a warning to Momo, promising that she will defeat her next time. As she leaves, Era turns to Ken and asks why he keeps saving her despite being a demon. Ken simply responds that he doesn't need a reason to save someone, leaving Era touched. She vows to save him from Momo's control one day before running off, leaving everyone bewildered. Little soon after that, Ken finds himself in a pinch as Turbo Granny decides to insert his family jewel back where it belongs. It turns into a full-fledged baseball game as Seiko takes up a bat to hit Turbo Granny's throw. Luckily for Ken, she misses the shot and the golden ball hits right where it should and reattaches to his body. Ken screams in pain, which is proof that there is something between his legs that can get hurt, and he is glad and embarrassed. At the same time though, the next day at school, Momo wonders about the location of the second ball. She suggests talking more about it during lunch, but Ken, still uneasy about their conversation, claims he has to work on a report. Momo suggests an internet cafe after school, but Ken makes another excuse, avoiding her. Later, when Momo is eating lunch with her friends, they ask why she's not with Ken. She answers that he's been keeping his distance and seems to be hiding something. Her friends tease her, asking if she thinks Ken is cheating on her. Momo, suddenly self-conscious, thinks of how Era might be interested in Ken, and the thought bothers her. She excuses herself, claiming she's going to buy some drinks. But as she walks, her thoughts keep returning to the possibility of Ken and Era being involved. When she unexpectedly finds Ken in a compromising position with Era, lying on top of her, Momo's heart sinks. She drops the juice she was holding, her heart racing as she watches them. A few minutes earlier, Ken had been working out alone, trying to build strength for the challenges ahead, not wanting to rely on Momo. Era had approached him, explaining that as a human and he as a demon, they could never be together. However, she couldn't suppress the feeling she had developed for him and decided to confess. She leaned in to kiss him, but Ken, panicking, slapped her face, pushing her away. Confused, Era explained that she had read in one of her dad's corny books that this was how love confessions were supposed to happen. Ken, equally confused, told her to find better sources before trying to kiss anyone. Trying to get away from the awkward situation, Ken began to move, but Era wouldn't let go. She clung to him, still determined to kiss him, saying this was her first time feeling this way. They struggled, both falling to the ground, with Era closing her eyes and pouting, hoping Ken would kiss her. That was when Momo walked in and dropped her juice. Ken froze, realizing the misunderstanding. He tried to explain, but Momo, heartbroken, called him the worst piece of trash she had ever met and stormed off. Ken, desperate to clear things up, followed her to the classroom, but Momo wasn't interested in listening. She lashed out at him, accusing him of lying, and Ken couldn't deny it, he had lied to her. After Momo returned to her class, she spiraled into depression, consumed by thoughts of betrayal. Her friends were concerned as she withdrew into herself, losing all her energy. Meanwhile, Ken, still at school, worked out frantically, realizing that his lies had caused everything to go wrong. He had only wanted to grow stronger to impress Momo but now found himself in a far worse situation. Suddenly, he notices something strange, his classroom is flooded, and everyone is gone. He hears Aa's cries for help and rushes outside. She explains that the school has been surrounded by complete darkness, and the water level is rising. She fears Momo is responsible. Ken's heart sinks, and he heads to Momo's class to check on her. But she's not there. Meanwhile, Momo is trapped in the same eerie situation. She's locked inside the school, alone, and begins to worry about Ken. Just as she's about to give in to panic, she hears a strange sound. A creature, resembling the Loch Ness monster, approaches her. She hides, but her footsteps create a ripple in the water, revealing her position. The monster moves closer, and in a panic, Momo ducks, trying to stay hidden. It shoots a destructive laser beam around the school, destroying parts of the building, but thankfully, no one is harmed. The monster moves on, and Momo, still shaken, grows even more worried about Ken's safety. On the other side of the school, Ken and Era hear the creature's attack. Ken connects it to the time aliens attacked Momo's house. Era is skeptical, but Ken insists that aliens do exist and that they have a strange obsession with human reproductive organs. Just as they discuss this, a mutated alien suddenly appears, attacking Era. Ken transforms into his superhuman form to protect her, but a powerful force knocks him down. 3 familiar aliens, the ones who had previously kidnapped Momo, appear. They claim they want his banana for their research, because his powers defy science. Ken tries to explain that his abilities are the result of a curse and that he's actually weak, but the aliens aren't convinced. They begin to tear at his clothes, aiming to harvest his banana. Just then, a fast-spinning figure appears, Era, who has gained the abilities of Silky, and she quickly takes action to protect Ken. With her new powers, she sends the aliens flying, giving Ken a chance to recover. The battle is far from over, but for the moment, Era stands as his protector.